man, here we go.
It is 5 and we are live. When I say live,
man.
you better know that ain't no jive. Because guess who I got with me here today on Break On Through?
Oh, man.
I got the legendary, the one and only, Mr. Number One,
We here.
George South. Put it here,
Yes,
brother.
sir, brother. Man,
All
thank
right.
you, my friend. We here, finally, live and in color.
Come on in the house. We're gonna wait a minute before we let George talk. Because when I take the chain off of George, man, you ain't gonna round it back up. It's over.
Man, here we ready. Come on in.
Well, George, I'm going to tell you what. It is a privilege and an honor to have you here today.
Thank you, buddy. I tell you what, I've waited. My daughter told me today, she went to the beach. She said, now, when you going to Jeff's? I said, I'm already here. I'm just driving around South Boulevard, man. But no, it is. You know, it's so exciting, Jeff, that South Boulevard, most of you fans, I don't know if you realize, Crockett's office, the old Crockett office, had so many great memories. 5 minutes away, Jeff, right down South Boulevard. And any chance I get to come on this side of town and just drive by, you know, Crockett's old office, man, Briarbend Drive, still there. The building's still there. Where they broke Dusty's hand. Remember the Four Horsemen followed him out of the old Ronald Toy warehouse and broke his hand. But, man, just great memories. Just coming down South Boulevard. I drive real slow. Matter of fact, today I text Magnum TA, and I said, you ain't going to believe where I'm at. Because so much money came out of that little old office up there, man. And so I'm glad to be here, my friend. Yes,
well, I'm
sir.
glad to have you, man. I'm gonna tell you what. I've only got a few questions right here, and I'm gonna ask one right now.
All righty.
And I'm sure everyone here, you know, wants to know this. But at what age and what was it you saw that made a young George South go, man, I'm going to do that.
I'm going to do that. You know, and that's exactly how it happened, Jeff. 10 years old. You know, most people know my story. I lost mom and dad when I was young and bounced around. Ended up living with a brother in Gastonia, North Carolina. I turned on the TV one day, Channel 3, 10 years old, and saw Ole and Gene Anderson against Wahoo and Paul Jones on TV. And I had never seen anything like that in my life. These four big, huge gladiators just beating each other to death. And it just happened to be the ultimate sacrifice match where, out of desperation, Ole grabbed Wahoo and throwed his head into his brother and knocked Wahoo out, and they won. And I thought, that's like the greatest thing in the world I've ever seen. And I didn't know then that you could go see the matches live, you know, at the old Park Center. And so then I found out you could go live. I remember I bought my first wrestling ticket, Jeff, and I carried it for a week. I mean, I wouldn't, then you ain't getting this ticket. And I remember it's a true story. My first match, I go in, and at the little turn-tape style where they tour your ticket, I wouldn't give mine. You know, that old man, I got to tear your ticket. You ain't tearing my ticket. And then I just fell in love and just saw those guys. And of course, it was a time when you could get close to them. You know, the wrestlers would come out and watch the other matches. And I would always go up to them and go get them coffee. And I remember I was a big Paul Jones, number one Paul Jones fan. And as a kid, I can remember, Jeff, him telling me to go get coffee for him. Like, yeah. And I'd go get it, and I'd come back, and he'd be gone every freaking time. So later, when I got to know him, I said, Paul, I got to ask you one thing. I said, you're going to think I'm crazy, but when I was a little boy, you would always send me to the park, up front Park Center to get coffee, and I'd come back, and you'd be gone. I said, why? He said, because you're driving me crazy. He said, you were driving me nuts with all these stupid wrestling questions. I had to get rid of you. So just a special, special time. And all that happened right here. Of course, you know, Charlotte, North Carolina used to be the hottest place in the world for wrestling. And I remember even as a teenager, Jeff, driving by Crockett's old office, they used to keep the cage out front that Klondike Bill would put around the ring. And just to see that cage, I still get goosebumps. But 10 years old. First time I ever seen it, and I said, I'm going to do it. And I've never wanted to do anything else in my life. All through elementary, I even learned to write Paul Jones's name. I tried to be Paul Jones in like the 4th grade. You know, the true story, I'd have a test, and I would pass the test, but I would sign my name, Paul Jones. I was so engulfed in that I thought I was Paul Jones. And so you imagine me telling the actual Paul Jones stories that, I tell you, 10 years old, 11 years old, they did an angle on television, Masked Superstar, beat Paul Jones, grabbed scissors, oh my gosh, in a match, cut his hair, threw hair everywhere. Yep, I like, But after I saw that, guess what I did? I found some
You went and
scissors.
cut your hair.
I went and cut my hair. I did. Gaps out, man. I went to school, brother. I had a big old hole in my head. And what the heck happened to you? You didn't know my superstar cut my hair, you know? So I had it. I had it bad, man.
That's great, man. I love hearing this.
And telling Paul and my superstar that now, and hearing them say, brother, what the heck are you talking about? So, but that was how much it meant to me, and they were such a part of my life. And I said, man, if I ever get a chance, I said, I'm gonna do this. And I've been blessed to be able to do it for a long time. So I think that's one reason I'm into training too, Jeff, is I hear these young kids' stories, and now everybody's story is kind of the same. They've always wanted to be WWF champ and some goofy stuff till they fall and hit the ring, you know, and they're, well, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to be WWF champ. Yeah, I didn't know that ring hurt. But I just fell in love with it at a young age, and then said, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, man.
Well, man, I love it. I love that story.
Just an amazing time, and you get close to the guys. You know, I was with Paul Jones right before he passed away, and you know, as they get older, what I love about an old-timer wrestler is they can't physically do anything, but their minds they can, and they're still the toughest guys. And up to the time Paul Jones, died, he'd fight you in a heartbeat. I mean, I used to love to take him to eat, and he got to where he'd hate to go out to eat because, you know, some waitress would come up and say, hey, do you know Sting? You know, and he'd always get mad because he's thinking, wait a second, do you know who the heck I am? And he'd start cussing this waitress out, you know, man, I built wrestling, and I would love it, but they wouldn't. But and just get close to Wahoo, and of course spend a week with Blackjack Mulligan, you know, at his house in Florida, and just, you know, he loved biscuits, and
I know somebody else here.
Oh, buddy, I'll eat a biscuit in a heartbeat. But went to Hardee's, got a big bag of biscuits, and I sit on as a young kid, if you would have told me that one day I'm gonna be sitting on Blackjack Mulligan's porch in Florida, and just drinking Mountain Dews, and his big old hand, you know, going in there and just getting those biscuits, and I'm thinking, man, this is like the greatest for a kid that I'm still a big fan to be able to do that. And I tell you, I got ready to leave Blackjack's house. He said, George, I got to do something. He said, you've been here all week. We've had a great time. He said, what can I do for you? And I don't know why I said this, Jeff, but he had a pair of tennis shoes on, okay, that he had wore, you know, just broke in good. And them shoes, I swear, his foot was this big. He's a huge man. I said, Blackjack, I want your tennis shoes. Not a cowboy hat, not a vest, but something unique. I said, I want your, I didn't think you would give them to me. I said, I want your tennis shoes. I'm talking like a size 42 shoe. He said, okay. Now, Jeff, he took those shoes off, if you can believe it. He said, give me a marker. And he autographed his tennis shoes. And he gave them to me. And, of course, I got them at home. Yes, I do. And so I don't think there's another one of those in the world. You know, I said it like this because I was waiting for a man, I'll punch you. But he gave me those shoes and just stuff like that, oh, my gosh, man. It's just it's amazing.
You got a whole house like this room, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It all started with like one little thing from a guy, and then of course back in the day, you'll hear me say that a lot today, that old timers would give you something. Like a lot of times they'd give you something because you couldn't afford it. Like my boots, trunks.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and tell that story?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Look at this,
buddy. Let me tell you something.
I've shown these on the show before. Now these are a gift.
Man,
given to me by this man right here.
Man, what an amazing story.
Look at these. Look at these.
That's the real thing.
Cowboy boots now.
That's the real thing, but that's cow right there, Jack. That's it. Them things are mooing.
Now, I want you to tell the story. But man, the thing that makes these so valuable to me is this story.
My goodness. Well, you know, Nelson Royal, everybody knows Nelson Royal, famous wrestler for years, NWA World Junior Champ. He owned a Western store in Mooresville, North Carolina. Now, his family still owns it, right? Mooresville. Guys, you can come through there and go in there and visit. They still have his NWA World Junior belt hanging up on the wall. So you can go in there and see that. But all the boys used to go by Nelson's store, and he had everything, saddles, shirts, and boots. But I, just started in the business, and Lord, I didn't have no money, but I love traveling with the Rock and Roll Express and, Billy Jack Haynes and all those guys. And so we used to do TV in Mooresville at one of the high schools when I used to go in those hot buildings, man. My favorite places. and we'd always go, and I'd always dread it because I thought, man, let's don't go by Nelson's, because I knew Rock and Roll was going to go in there and buy like 6 or 7 pair. Billy Jack Haynes going to go in there, you know, and these boots then they were $500 or $600 a piece, Jeff. Okay, so I was dreading it because I didn't have no money. You know, I'm gonna walk in there like I'm one of the Rock and Roll Express, but man, they gonna buy boots and I ain't got nothing. Okay. And then that one day, I'll never forget this, those boots, that one day. And I know to this day, Ricky and Robert, and of course Billy Jack Haynes, they must have worked something out with Nelson Royal, because I've been going in there with them and never left with a pair of boots. And then that particular day, I left with a pair of those boots. They come straight from Nelson Royal's Western store, and I was with Billy Jack Haynes and Rock and Roll Express when I had those boots. Now, Jeff, I've been wrestling 41 years, and see, Billy Jack Haynes wasn't here long. You know, he was crazy. He was here for a minute, and he was gone. And of course, Rock and Roll was on top of the world, and they fell in love with me. And to this day, they're good friends. But I know they had something to do with me getting those boots. And so for me to be able, I've had them forever, and for me to be able to present them to you, you know, one of my best friends.
I'm honored to have them.
Because I know you will cherish them, and the story behind it, and it's just an amazing. Because it's almost like a thing now. Guys get Rolexes or something like that, but to wear those boots back in the early '80s, and it was like a sign that you made it. You know, I mean, because all the boys were wearing them. Now people don't even hardly wear cowboy boots. I've always loved them, but those came. Nelson Royal Shop, Billy Jack Haynes, Rock and Roll Express, and now they got a home, you know, right here at the JC Mansion, buddy. And I'm tickled to death over that. So, and Nelson, what's funny is Nelson Royal's store. I'll tell you a quick story, Jim. Nelson Royal, even up to the time he passed away, he was still getting in the ring. I mean, one of the toughest men in the world. And he called me one night, and he said he used to have a ring in his barn. Yeah. You know, up there at his shop. It's all the city's tore everything down now, but it used to be a huge rodeo behind Nelson Royal's store. He had barns and rodeo arenas. Well, he had a ring in his barn. So Nelson calls me like 11 o'clock at night. He said, "George, you want to work out in the ring?" I said, "Yeah, sure. I ain't gonna pass up this." But I'm thinking the next day. He said, "What time do you think you're going to get here?" I said, "Tonight?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So I drive to Mooresville. I get there, man, about 12 o'clock. Nobody's there but just me and him. And so I go in the barn. They got one little light, just like something you see in a horror movie. There's one little light bulb over the ring, and there's horses all in this thing. Right. So I'm thinking, okay, I got sweats on, you know, my tennis shoes, and I'm going to get in here, and then Nelson's going to roll around a little bit. Well, he comes through the door, Jeff, and he's got his, like, trunks on. I mean, brother's got his boots on, that marine jacket, and I'm thinking, like he's going to fight Ric Flair or something. And I'm thinking, what the heck's going on here? There was no cameras. It was just me and him. There was no music. There was nothing. Just us and a bunch of horses. And next thing I know, Nelson was always conditioned, always in tip-top condition. And he had those rubber bands in his bags that he would warm up with. Next thing I know, Jeff, I'm sitting over here just sitting there with an old dirty T-shirt on in the ring. Look over, and Nelson pulls out those bands. Bro starts warming up. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? He's fixing to kill me in a freaking barn. And, man, he already get a sweat going and his veins popping out. And I'm thinking, I'm fixing to die, like right here. And Nelson Royal got, and to this day, I tell everybody, I think he was showing off for those freaking horses. Yeah, I think he was. We got that ring for 2 hours. He beat me half to death. And there was no tape, there was no recordings, there was no cameras. To this day, he was showing off for them horses. I think he beat the crap out of me in the front of his horses. So, but that happened in that barn, and now, of course, you go, and it's all tore down, and the city's, bought all that property and stuff. But if you go in Nelson Royal, and then I'll move on. If you go in Nelson Royal's store, my favorite picture in his store, Jeff, is he's got one of those helicopter pictures, where they used to take aerial photos of all of your property, and he still has that. They still have that in his shop that you can see. All of his property and how big those barns were and how big all of that was. So and when Crockett shut down, a lot of people don't know this. Nelson Royal started the Atlantic Coast Wrestling ACW, and he just like kicked in gear when Crockett left, and he started running all of Crockett's old towns. Jeff, next thing I know, he had Nikita, he had Rock and Roll, me, Doug Summers, Buddy Landell, and it was just I thought, man, we're gonna keep this going for a while. And I remember Nelson Royal walked in one time. He said, "Guys," his initials were ACW, Atlantic Coast Wrestling. He said, and I learned a lot from Nelson. He said, "I've sold the letters. And we all said, what the heck? I mean, we're doing good business. What do you mean you sold the letters? He said, oh, yeah, some guy in Rockingham bought the letters. And because that's why I laugh now when promotions come up with these letters. 'Cause they ain't worth nothing. But anyway, Nelson Royal sold ACW, not the promotion now.
Right.
The freaking
Just
letters.
the right to use ACW.
ACW. And he just changed the name to a whole new thing. So some guy in Rockingham gave him like, I mean, to me that was genius. You know, you just change the name, just change the letters. So we become another little group after that. But I thought, man, is it that easy? I thought there was a big board meeting. You know what I'm saying? They got to fly people in. We got to discuss this thing first. No. Guy gave him the money. He owns ACW.
It's just a guy in Rockingham.
There's just a guy in Rockingham. I don't know if he ever run a show or not. I said, dang, Nelson.
Do you have any idea how much he paid him?
Who knows?
I'd
heard. Yeah, I'd heard it was like $3 or $4 grand. You know, back in the day.
Well, that did something back then.
What was so funny? I said, Nelson, but you own Atlantic Coast Wrestling. Me, you know, my brain. I should have just shut up and said, "Great, Nelson," but I got to know the scoop on this, man. How do you do this? And he would say, "George, just shut up, okay?" I sold him to ACW, okay, but I don't think the guy ever run a show or anything. But I thought, man, so that's how this works.
No, that's all right.
Just come up with some letters and sell it, Jeff.
I say, I got 2 of my questions out of the way.
Oh man, dang, see.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and bring up a subject.
Okay.
And I know you'll want to talk about this because you and I talk about this when we ain't being filmed.
Yeah, that's right.
But, man, I see you post about it. And, man, I love what you get, the name you give them. Goofs.
Oh, my gosh. Brother, let me tell you something. You know, I'm the easiest guy in the world to get along with. And what amazes me about, especially with the internet and all this kind of crap, there's people that's never met me. Jeff, I know you go through this too. There's people that have never met me. I may be the biggest jerk in the world, but you got to meet me first.
Yep.
You know, at least meet me and then give me, then make a decision on me. But you got to meet me first.
Yep.
And so it's just so funny over the years that I've basically could care less what people have said. I laugh because I've been a pro wrestler for 41 years and raised a beautiful family, and they still make fun of me not winning a match. Oh, George South, you ain't never won a match. And I'm thinking, y'all don't get it. I remember one time in Greenville, South Carolina, I just wrestled Magnum TA. Okay, he beat me belly to belly in like 2 seconds. Okay, and the security guard's helping me back. 2 seconds. I made $400. Okay, and the people are laughing at me, throwing stuff. Oh, you loser! You got your butt kicked in 4 seconds. And the security guard reached down and he said, they just don't get it, do they? So here's a police officer that knew how this worked, okay?
Even back then.
Back then, you know, in the early 80s. He said, they just don't get it, do they? And I thought, no, I just made $400 for like 3 seconds work. And then they still, with it, you lost. You never won a match. Oh, you get your butt kicked. And I'm thinking, if y'all had a clue that I've lived the greatest life in the world and grown up with my heroes and traveled with them and still love what I do. That's why I make fun now, Jeff, to these goofs is, I'm not you know, everybody says, oh, these miserable old timers. You know, y'all always say it was better back in your day, but I'm not. I'm not an old disgruntled old timer that hates the world and hates wrestling. But if you're a goof in pro wrestling, which you're full of them, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. And I'll tell you, I mean, I really will. I feel like I've earned that, and just act like you got some sense. The thing in my school now, Jeff, and I know if someone come to your band, I don't care where you've been. I don't care what you've done, okay? And it's like they come in there bragging. And I know most of them's lied. You know, once you've been knocked out by the Ultimate Warrior, what are you going to say to impress me, Jeff? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do, you know, tell me, okay? And so I just tell them, just calm down. You know, just, I don't care if, a guy told me last week, said, man, I got 4 black belts. 4. I didn't even ask. You know, I said,
4 black belts.
4 black belts. I said, brother, and we just met. I said, brother, 2 of them. I said, 2 of them belts better have money in it, Jeff. That's all I'm saying. But I guess
he got 4 black belts. I guess if that was Enter the Dragon, he'd be in good shape.
Oh, yeah. You're talking to Bruce Lee, but you may be okay. But I don't know if they think they're trying to be cocky. I don't know if they're trying to, you know, I don't know. And I just say, stop. Just be yourself. And I would rather take a young kid, especially in our business, that just, he really wants to learn and he'll do anything that I ask him to do, and we can do some good business. But when you come to me, it's just nuts right now. A lot of people don't realize that they really got to fall Had a lady bring her 18-year-old son a couple weeks ago. I think I told you about that. And she said, well, I don't want my son to fall. I said, okay, well, I'm glad, lady, but I'm ready to punch you, lady. But it's amazing what they've heard. You know, usually Grandma or Uncle Joe has told them at the supper table that wrestling's fake, you know, and you don't want to do that. And so they believe that when they come to me. Mm-hmm. And it's like you really got to deprogram everybody. Just calm down and let's see. But pro wrestling, I learned this a long time ago. Here's a quick story. So when I spent a week with Blackjack Mulligan, we was talking about the wrestling like me and you're doing, just sitting around talking. And Blackjack told me a story I've never forgot. He said that in the 60s, wrestling was taking off. The color TVs had hit, Gorgeous George. Everybody wanted to be a wrestler. It was making all this money. The Mafia came down, Jeff, to get into wrestling. They want to get their hands in it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And after a week, Mafia left. They went back to New York. They said, them guys are nuts. So if that gives you any illustration about pro wrestling, the Mafia didn't even want nothing to do with us. And I've always said that, old timers say this too, that in any other form of life, you got to have some common sense. But it's so crazy now that in pro wrestling, you know, you get on the internet, you buy you a pair of boots, you know, you can buy a championship belt right now, you know, and then you call yourself a pro wrestler. And I don't do that. I mean, I don't have no, it's nuts. Just spend the money, find you a good school. I tell people, I don't care if you come to my school, Jeff, but find somebody that, do some research. You know, find somebody that, especially with the internet now, just punch a guy's name in. But that, I think the word goof, it just came when I realized how stupid people, you know, I got a buddy, Jeff, that works at Charlotte Airport, right up the road. And he lands planes. I mean, he's got all these people's lives. He loves wrestling, is what I'm getting at. But he helps land planes from a tower. You got families and kids and planes, and he's landing them all safely. And he looks at me and he says, I don't know how you do it, George. You know, he's so impressed with pro wrestling, how we're able to get in there and do it for as long as I've done it. And I'm thinking, here's a guy that's really got an important job, and he's impressed with me. It puts everything in perspective, you know. And so, but I just tell everybody, I said, just don't be a goof. And Hulk at Road Warrior and Animal, Hulk got a hold of that word years ago and really like skyrocketed it with him, man. When he called you a goof, you were definitely a goof.
You're a goof for a while.
Yeah,
right?
You are for a long time, buddy. And so, but I used to love it. You know, Hulk. He used to hate for us to get hurt on television, you know, the underneath guys.
Yep.
And Hulk, I mean, it was so funny because like at all the studios or TV tapings or wherever, all of us underneath guys, we'd dress in one room. And of course, you know, the big top guys would always dress in another room for whatever reason. But Hulk and Animal would always come in and dress with us.
Yeah.
And, you know, that always meant something to me. That Hulk never forgot. Animal, they never forgot, you know, where they came from. But there was a time that Hulk got tired of us getting hurt. I mean, people don't realize how hard. Now people say, well, I'd sue them if they did that to me. Well, in my day, bro, you just kept your mouth shut and you tried to survive. I mean, you did. And Hulk just got tired of guys getting hurt. And I remember Sid Vicious was just so big and a lot of times careless. And he'd hurt a lot of, you know, young guys. And, man, in the dressing room, Hulk got right in there. It was like Godzilla and King Kong. I mean, Hulk got in Sid's face and said, you hurt one more guy, and I want to hurt you. And we were loving it, Jeff, because, you know, we're thinking, Hulk hit him. You know, hit him one time for us, you know. But it was amazing after that conversation how Sid learned to work, you know, after that. He become real easy for some reason after that conversation. So, but I remember, and there wasn't many guys that took up for us, you know, over the years. But Hulk, I'll never forget that. And up till he passed, I was able to tell him, man, I remember that day in Atlanta when you took up for us. Terry Gordy did that for us a lot. He just said, guys, if a guy's giving you your body out there in the ring, you ain't got to hurt the guy. It's tough enough doing it the right way, much less hurt the guy.
And Terry Gordy was a guy that could hurt.
Oh, he was
unbelievable.
You know, I loved him so much. And see, I wish, we all wish we could go back, especially in the wrestling business, Jeff, and spend more time with those guys. And see, but if you fans can imagine, you get to TV, you don't know what you're going to do yet. They change it a million times. Just because that paper says you're wrestling Terry Gordy third match don't mean that's what's going to happen. okay? And you got to be at the TV studios kind of early, and you can't leave. And so, you know, even before the stupid phones and all that, and so there was times I was that way with Andre the Giant. You know, I'd be sitting in a room and Andre would be right over there playing cards, and I never wanted to bother him. You know, Jeff. I mean, he's Andre the Giant, and I remember him in the magazines, and man, but I never. That's my biggest regret. I wish I'd have went over there because he loved playing cards and he had his people with him, but I never wanted to bother him, and so I never got a picture with Andre the Giant,
Right.
And I wished I would have. You know, and I knew and he probably wouldn't have minded, but you're thinking, man, he's already.
You're just being respectful.
I was being respectful.
Yeah.
And so I that's why young kids come up to me now at dressing rooms, and I know they want to get a picture, so I kind of break the ice. You know, I'll ask him, can I get a picture with you? You know, because I know it's what they want to do. They just don't feel like asking it. But man, as you get older, and you see those pictures and stuff, as you know, is just so special to to hang on to. So,
Well, you know, I tell the guys in my operation, you know, anybody that wants a picture, you can take that picture with them. That's our job.
Yeah. But you know what I've learned, and we'll get off the word goof, is I don't have to be with you 20 minutes to know that you're a goof. I mean that. I can meet you. Yeah, that's a true story. I can meet you in the first 5 seconds. I know, right? It's just like a goof spider sense is tingling, you know? And I can tell in 5 seconds whether I want to get away from you. I don't even want you around me. And it's just, I'm so thankful for that. And just, I'll end the conversation. I'll walk away. Act like my flip. The best one is my flip phone. I left it in the living room, but I love it because they don't know what my phone is. It's an old flip phone, so I can. If you're a goof and I want to get away from you, I say, "Excuse me, I got to take this," and I pull out the flip phone, and they don't know what the heck it is. You know, it's like some Star Trek thing, and I flick it open, and it ain't even on. Okay, and I say, "Yeah, kids, what are you doing?"
You just told your
I know.
told your gimmick right here
I
on
had to
TV.
kill my whole gimmick. So let me take this. This is my dang kids again, okay? But there ain't nobody on that phone, okay? That goof will turn around and leave, you know? So, man, it worked again. So that's one positive
great.
thing. So.
Well, man, a buddy of mine wanted me to ask you specifically. This is from KD, who has his own YouTube show called KD After Dark. He wanted me to ask you if you could please tell a story about an old local favorite around here, Brute Bernard.
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
You could probably talk on Brute Bernard
Brute
until
Bernard
about 10 o'clock
and
tonight,
folks,
couldn't you?
You know, we see people like Brute on the street now, you know, just acting crazy, you know, but folks, we're talking the 60s and 70s. If you can even imagine that Brute Bernard, big, you know, hair all over. A lot of younger fans may know George the Animal Steele. It's kind of like a reference to him. They were two different people, believe it or not. But Brute Bernard, big, you know, 300 pounds, solid bald head. He had this look, and his whole gimmick was he couldn't understand nothing. He couldn't be controlled, and he would just walk around and you know, that's all he'd say, you know. And the promos, Bob Caudle would try to interview him, and he'd just go, you know, round in circles. Well, even and I remember seeing him as a kid. This monster scared me to death. You know, oh my gosh, and just the ultimate bad guy. And of course, later in his career, he started working. Some independent shows. He was well up in age, 75 years old. And so I just got into business, 17, 18 years old, Jeff. And man, I saw a poster. I still have it at home. And you know, of course, then I wrestled as Iron Man, Mark Thunder, you know, because Paul Jones wouldn't let me. I wanted to be Paul Jones Jr.
Right.
Paul cussed me out. You ain't using my name. So I was, thank you. And so I was Iron Man, Mark Thunder for some stupid reason, okay? Came out to Ozzy's Iron Man. That's what I came to the ring with. 17 years old. I didn't know what the heck that was. And but I saw my poster, Iron Man, Mark Thunder versus Brute Bernard. Oh my gosh. And the old Tribune, red, white, and blue posters, you know. Oh gosh, Jeff. And I think it was in like Monroe, North Carolina. And this was my, 17, 18 years old. Brute. Now, here's what I'm thinking. You talking about goof. I invented it. That's why I call you a goof. It's because I was the first goof, okay? But I'm here and I'm thinking, man, what's this old man going to tell me? You know what I'm saying? Right. He's 80 years old. He had his time, but it's my time now. So I remember I go in the dressing room and he just used to sit there and he'd eat peanuts. I mean, he loved peanuts. He'd just sit there and throw the pillows on the floor. And I'm looking, you know, he's 80, 75 years old. And I'm thinking, what in the heck can this man do? I mean, are you kidding? And I'm going to tell you something. And so I go over like an idiot, instead of introducing myself. I'm going to tell Brute Bernard, the meanest guy in the universe, what I'm going to do to him. Yeah. Okay? Like an idiot. You're talking about a goof, Jeff. And so I get like 3 words out of my mouth, what I'm going to do. And I'll never forget it. He didn't even miss a beat cracking them peanuts. And he was cracking away. And he raised that head up. And his head's this big, you know, old scars all over his head. He said, you're going to sit down and you're going to shut up. And I did. Okay, Jeff, I did. I said, okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Bernard. And I sat right down. And that's when, Jeff, I learned more. We go to the ring. Now, he was still snug. I mean, he was, you could feel him. But I remember 2 seconds in the match, and it's a match I just posted not long ago.
Yeah, on
Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah, and he said, slam, slam. And I'm thinking, surely he means he's going to slam me, you know, naturally. And he said, no, slam, slam. And he come running right at me. And it showed me, I learned so much, Jeff, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm ready. You know, this guy's still a big man. But, Jeff, it was the most perfect slam for a 70, I mean, for me. And I've used it in my training with my students. If you go back and watch when I slammed Brute, I mean, it was like, now, I felt him because he was a big man, but he did it all. It's almost like what they said about Andre when Hogan slammed him. If Andre didn't want you to slam him,
that you ain't
going to slam him.
Right.
And so, but he went up, and it was like, I'm not lying, it was like the perfect slam that I've ever seen. I mean, and he took the perfect bump for it and got up and, you know, crawled out of the ring. And, of course, I fired the people up. And so I learned right then, in a split second, first of all, Brute ain't going to do nothing. I ain't going to make him do anything he didn't want to do. And I think when he told me to sit down and shut up, I did. I didn't back talk. I kept my mouth shut in the match, and then he made it a great match out there. So I use that all these years later to my students, that Brute was the big bad guy. All pro wrestling is an old John Wayne movie, okay? You got the bad guys, you got the good guys, all right? And the good guys always win. Now, the bad guys may steal the town, Jeff. You know, they may steal the ranch, but John Wayne's coming over that sunset to save the day. That's all wrestling is. And the internet and fans, that they've made it so complicated that you've almost got to go to freaking college now to understand what's going on television. And if you can keep that, I've tried to always hang on to that. But I learned so much with Brute. And then after that match, because I just knew I didn't have a choice. I mean, I was going to make him look good, or he's going to make him look good. He fell in love with me, and then I learned then that's when I picked up a lot of my shows. Is Brute knew, he started taking me around with him.
He liked working with you.
Yeah, he liked working with me because he knew I was going to listen, and I was going to make him look good, and I would do. And so I'm thinking, whoa, that's when I learned right then. Act like you got some sense. I mean, he could have said, you're a jerk. I never want to wrestle you again. But I just started traveling with Brute. And next thing I know, I was in the main events. Nobody knew who I was. They knew Brute. But he was taking me around. And see, I told you, the first night I wrestled the original Sheik. All right? I'm talking about not the Iron Sheik, who I love.
The Iron Sheik.
This is the
original
man.
Sheik.
This is the original. All the magazines. From Detroit, the Fire, the Snake, you know, brother, the Pencil. And, you know, it was like Douglas, Georgia is the first night. Well, his Sheik's guy didn't show up. It was some Miguel somebody. That's what the poster said. But he didn't show up. So the promoter comes over to my dressing room. I hadn't even seen the Sheik yet. And says, somebody wants to see you. And Jeff, I'm 18, 19 years old. All I've ever read is wrestling magazines. My whole life, I ain't read a Dad Burn science book. Bro, I'd have Inside Wrestling, inside that social studies. Bro, they said, can you dissect a frog? I said, heck no, but I can tell you who Bruno Sammartini beat. Are you kidding me? Dissect a frog. But they said, somebody wants to see you. I said, okay, so I grab my bag and I go, Jeff, we walk to the gym, across the gym, I go in, and it's him. It is the Sheik. I'm talking red road map, forehead, he's in a suit. Jeff, the Snake is on the freaking ground in the dressing room, and his U.S. belt is laying right there. And I pooped my pants. I mean, this is, to me, it is, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? He's going to kill me right here, okay? And the promoter says, I didn't have time to think. Promoter said, he said, this is who you're wrestling tonight. And Jeff, I I get nervous to this day to see him, the man. Okay, and see, folks, I want you to understand there was no freaking TV. I mean, cable, nothing.
No YouTube,
no
nothing.
YouTube. So the magazines was what we.
That's all the only source you had.
Freddie Blassie's head, and that's all that was going through my mind. And you're working with him, and I'll never forget this, Jeff. The Sheik only said a few words to me. He said, "Kid," he said, "I'm not going to hurt you," and he said, "You sure ain't going to hurt me." Yeah. And I turned around and I think I got dressed like 4 hours too early, and I'm ready for this. But we went out there, and Jeff, I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you it ain't scary when you see him. He'll tell the ref to turn his back, and then he pulls out that pencil like a freaking sword, and that pencil's this big, and you know what he's fixing to do with it.
Yeah.
He ain't fixing to write a stupid love letter. He's fixing to poke you with it, and so. But Jeff, I was in awe to think that's why the way the Lord has blessed me, Jeff, for me, okay, it ain't to win the lottery, but I'm fixing to get poked with the pencil. Do you understand? I mean, to me, the ultimate thing in pro wrestling. And brother, he approached me, and Jeff, for some reason, this made or break my career. I could have covered up like a baby. Mm-hmm. Well, I probably should have done, okay? I should have been out that freaking back door. But, Jeff, I fed him. I gave him myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
And I don't know why I did it. It was just a God moment because I could have, he didn't, even though I was scared to death, I couldn't, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I couldn't act like I was scared.
Right.
And so I fed him. I turned to him, and Jeff, he went to town on that pencil on me. And blood came, and the people were going nuts, and he morphed like a freaking Power Ranger. I mean, when that blood starts flowing and those people, and I didn't even know what I was doing, Jeff, but he loved every moment of it. Mm-hmm. And he just poked, and of course, Camel clutched me and beat me and got the snake and the U.S. belt, and I'm laying there in a bloody mess, and so I get to the dressing room, and I'm thinking, I just hope I did a good job. I just hope I got my butt kicked good, okay?
Right.
And so nobody said nothing to me that night, Jeff. I got dressed, and it was 2 days. We was down there 2 days. Mm-hmm. And so we stayed over, and I had tape, butterfly Band-Aids all over my head and just trying to stop the blood. And so I went to the next town. I was just glad I made it out alive. And I get to that next town, and that promoter met me. I'll never forget it, Jeff. He met me at that front door. And he said, "The Sheik wants you again." And I said, "Huh?" I mean, I've never heard that, Jeff. That was like the greatest words in the world. He said, No, Sheik requested you. And here's the funny thing. Oh, my gosh. Miguel, who no-showed the first night, showed up the second night.
Right.
And they wouldn't let him work the Sheik. So they put me in there the second night. And so of all the things people can say, George, you never won a match, you did this, you ain't done nothing. To me, personally, being a fan, the magazines, Bill Apter, I tell Bill Apter this story every time I see him, for the Sheik to request me again, Jeff, was like the ultimate, it can't get no better than that. You could give me the NWA World Belt right now, you can give me, Hogan's Beat Shop. None of that would compare to the original Sheik requesting me. And you know what was even special is years later, after the Sheik passed, I was able to tell Sabu that. Mm-hmm. And that meant something to Sabu because he would say, my uncle, he didn't quit. He never done that. I mean, you may have got one chance with Sheik, good or bad, but you never got two chances with him. So it was just kind of neat. Now, I have the posters at home, and it doesn't say Iron Man Mark Thunder. It says Miguel whatever.
Right.
But, buddy, that was me, Jack. And I will always... to be requested by that man who was like the greatest. I mean, if fans can imagine, I used to cut grass. Jeff, I know I'm running my mouth. I used to cut grass.
Man, that's what you're here for.
I used to cut grass during the week to save up my money as a kid to go to Piedmont Newsstand. You can look it up. It ain't even there no more. In Gastonia, it was an old newsstand. You couldn't even sit in there. You didn't drink coffee or eat a sandwich. You just go in and you had racks of magazines. All right, that's all. An old man behind the counter, and he used to fuss at me because I would never, I could only buy a couple, but I looked through every one of them, Jeff. And to this day, he'd run me out. Now they hang signs, don't read the magazines. They did that for me, Jeff, And what's so funny is every magazine that would have the Sheik on it, a bloody picture, I would buy, but I would cut grass, during the week just so I could take that money to Piedmont Newsstand. And I still go through Gastonia, and I'll go 30 miles off the freaking interstate to go over to Franklin Boulevard, just so now the old building's there, but of course not Piedmont Newsstand, but just to reminisce about going in there. And I'm gonna tell you, Jeff, I had my brother who I was living with, third grade, he bought me a dadburn $40 book bag. Brother had zippers everywhere. The first day, I had a pencil box, brother, I was styling and profile. First day of school, I traded it to Tim Arundel for a wrestling magazine. My brother beat the crap out of me. I come home, Jeff. Brother Bob, bless his heart. Brother Bob said, George, where's that $50 book bag with all them zippers? I said, I traded it. First day of school, man, and so I think the rest of the whole year I carried my pencils and scrap in an old plastic bag, but he wouldn't buy me another one. But so, forget that book bag. Look at this magazine, Brother Bill. I got Brother Bob, but I did. First day of school, I had it bad, buddy. I still got the magazine. I still had a magazine, buddy. He backhanded me, man. What the heck?
These stories are solid gold,
man.
And you ain't hearing this anywhere. Right here on Break On Through. And I'm going to tell you what, man, I see the people are enjoying it. I see a bunch of hearts. I see a bunch of thumbs. And
I hope so.
And man, I'm going to tell you what. Now, usually I wrap it up about now, but for today, we're going to go an extra 15.
Let's do that. And I want to spend this last 15, Jeff. I as we talked about earlier, I got a huge wrestling museum at home.
I want to see that one day.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm so proud of myself because I've had stuff in boxes. Jeff, I've got the original, if you can believe this, Gorgeous George. I'm talking about the first one. There've been a bunch of them over the years, but the original blonde hair, the 50s and 60s. You know what I learned about that man? See, now, everybody's got blonde hair, everybody, is goofy but in the 50s and 60s, whatever town, he did it in Charlotte. Gorgeous George. If you can imagine in the 60s, here's a man with curls, blonde hair. He would, whatever town he was wrestling in, what a time to be alive. Jeff, he would come into town 2 days early and go to all the beauty parlors. All right? Yeah. And back then, in the 56, men didn't go in beauty parlors. So Gorgeous George would be in Charlotte for like 3 or 4 days, and you'd hear about it. What's this man doing getting his hair done? And so by the time he came to Charlotte Park Center and fought Johnny Weaver, you wanted to kill the guy. Because you don't even know anything about him, but back then men didn't go get, bobby pins in their hair. But his gimmick was on the way to the ring, Jeff, he had bobby pins and he painted them gold. And his gimmick was he'd throw them to the fans. And he called them Georgie pins, not bobby pins, but Georgie pins.
Georgie pins.
So I'd always heard about these. And man, what to have one. So years ago, Wally Dusick, who built all the rings for Crockett, him and his wife Joyce, they passed away, but he built his ring, all of Crockett's rings, and they were going to, we went to the same church in Charlotte. So I really got close to Wally working for Crockett, and I was at his house one day. And Jeff was sitting on the couch, and Wally was 85, 89 years old, big old ears, arthritis had set in, man, just...
Big old ears.
Oh, he had them big old...
I'm not laughing about the man's arthritis.
No, I know. Yeah, just all that history. And he was showing me all of these shoe boxes. And I'm looking through there, and he's wrestled Luthez, and he's wrestled in Africa in front of 10,000 people, and they're just old clippings. And I'll never forget this. I said, Wally, we got to get these out of these boxes. I said, man, we got to put these in some scrapbooks. And Jeff, listen to this. He looked at me. He said, take that down the street to the drugstore and try to buy a bowl of soup. Oh, my God. You're talking about putting stuff in perspective. You know what I'm saying? To me, this stuff was priceless. Jeff, it wouldn't even get you a bowl of soup, But he always kept things in perspective. And so I got talking about Gorgeous George real quick. Next thing I know, he said, Joyce, that was his lovely wife. He said, Joyce, come here. And we started talking about Gorgeous George, and she said, well, hold on a minute. I'll never forget it, Jeff. She went back in her little sewing kit, and she brought me 4 of those Georgie pins.
Wow.
Those things have been priced thousands. And I try to kind of, well, everybody's going to know now that I got them now. But I tried to kayfabe it by my big mouth. But I've got 4 of them things, you know, and it's just that history behind that, you know. And so, anyway, and I said all that to say, I've got that huge museum. I'm getting stuff out now. Just, oh my gosh, just, you know, when you find an autographed picture that Eddie Guerrero gave your kids, man, it takes your breath sometimes, you know, because you think of all these guys that I loved and we traveled with and we got to know each other's families. I remember Eddie Guerrero, first time I met him, he looked over my bag, Jeff, and he saw my Bible. He saw it and he said, "Is that for real?" And I didn't know what he meant. Is he trying to crack a joke? Is he I didn't know him first time I met him. And he said, "Is that for real?" And I said, "Of course it's for real." And he grinned and he hugged me. And then later I found out how strong he was in his faith. And he was just wanting to know, is that for show? You know, this was a dressing room, man, not in front of a camera. And I said, "Yeah, it's for real." And he just wanted to know for his own heart. And so little stuff like that. But anyway, so, and I got to shut up. But I got my bag, okay? I got the bag, Jack. I got the bag from my good friend. Jeff, let me show you a little secret for you fans. Listen, I love, now that I'm getting older, 41 years in the business, I love dates, Jeff. I love looking back and say, "Man, George, you was in this town." You know, like I did with the sheep.
Right.
And so what I've started doing on this bag, because I've used all my other ones, is the towns that I go to. Jeff, see, one day I'm going to give this to my grandbaby, okay? My kids laugh at me now saying, "Oh, you did one of those for me." But long after I'm gone, you know, to heaven, my grandbaby, see, and I know it may be hard for you to see, fans, but I just put the date and the time and the town that where I was at. And one day, you know, my grandbaby, she'll have this to say, "Man, my old crazy grandpa was like, you know, in South Carolina, and then he went to Georgia," you know, but how special that would be. So anyway, as we wrap this thing up, Jeff, I just got a few things that I'm going to present to you, okay?
Alrighty.
You're really going to think I'm nuts. Now, we talked about it earlier, Jeff, the Slam Buddies that me and you both have up for sale and on our website.
If you look right behind us,
yes,
we have them right here.
And of course, everybody's got them now, but back in the day, you'll hear me say that a million more times, but back in the day, Jeff, nobody knew how to do that. WWF was putting them out, but who could mass market all that crap? So anyway, my kids, my daughters, we come up with an idea. Well, I'll make mine. Now everybody makes them, but you know, we didn't have a sewing machine, we didn't have nothing. But anyway, so Jeff, this one here. Now this thing is as old. This thing's 30 years old, Jeff. But this is the original Mr. Number One photo type. Okay, Slam Buddy. Now, Jeff, don't pay no attention to the pharmacy bag that I put it in, okay? I have no idea where that come from. But that is, there'll never be another one of these. And this thing is so old, but she drew it. She drew this out. We just couldn't back then find anybody to make them. And the reason it's discolored is she wanted me to have a tan. You know, back then, I didn't have time for no stupid tanning bed. So she gave half of me a tan, Jeff. So this is... Bro, this is as original as you can get, okay?
Man,
so that's yours.
I don't even know. Are you sure you
Nobody,
want to
no, I want you to have that. No, that I thought of you. Now this one, Jeff, real quick. Now, folks, listen, y'all gonna think I'm crazy on this one. Everybody knows WWF and their merchandise, you know, train and everything. You know, bubble bath, ice cream bars. Well, WCW, when they first got in to the marketing, nobody had a freaking clue what they were doing. Of course, they got better later on. But this here, Jeff, is one of the, and I won't take it out, but this is, and everybody say that's the weirdest design. But Jeff, that is the very first WCW T-shirt that they ever come up with. And you know the coolest thing, even better than the front, is the
tag.
Oh,
they had their own
yeah,
tags.
they had their own tags back then. Okay, but there'll never be another. There's not another one of these. No. Now they got fancier, but this was like, I'm thinking, you had Ted Turner's money, and this is the ugliest looking screen I've ever seen in my life, Jeff. But so anyway, I want you to have that because we both deal in T-shirts and stuff like that, and so I wanted to give that to you. Now, Jeff, I know you don't have this. But let me see. Oh, this was good. Let me give you this. I had our good friend Ricky Morton autograph a picture for you.
Oh,
buddy.
Thank you so much.
And even on the back, of course, got Ronnie Garvin, old Crockett days, Ronnie Garvin and Tommy Young and all them. But Ricky Morton, of course, he's against Rick Rude, who we lost. But I had Ricky Morton And that came right out of a magazine too, the old
Yeah,
Wrestling
Wrestling
Eye.
Eye.
Remember
Yeah,
that?
I got a ton of them right
Oh
over there.
yeah. So Ricky Morton signed that for
Thank you so
okay,
much.
buddy. So now Jeff, this is cool. There's not another one of these, and it's probably a good thing. And you may know about it, but The Rock, when he first started getting popular, Jeff, look, still sealed. Okay,
Right.
The Rock came out with his own, not an energy drink, his own Coca-Cola.
No.
Ain't that cool? And I loved it because it had his name on it. But Jeff,
There
I'm
it
here
is.
to tell you, this will take paint off a wall. You understand? The reason this didn't hit the market because I think people died from drinking it. No, they did not. But anyway, so I want you to have that.
Thank you
There is
so
no
much,
more of those.
man.
But that's cool. I love it. It's sealed. I love that. Couple more things and we'll be done. Jeff, now this is very special to me. Okay? Look here. Sonny and Cher's album. Now listen to this, Jeff. We talked about it earlier, when me and Jake Manning did my TV show, Dad, You Don't Work, You Wrestle, we did almost 400 episodes, and we had a little prop set up behind us, and it was just stuff that I loved, you know, and I was always a big Sonny and Cher fan, and someone on the first episode of our show called me and Jake Sonny and Cher, okay? So I ran with it, okay? I got you, babe, and all this kind of stuff. So I got this album, like the third episode in, and put it behind us. So,
Right.
yeah, you know, you call us Sonny and Cher, well, here we are, buddy. But this comes straight off of our set that we did almost 400 episodes, and I'm going to give this to you.
Well, I'm going to
Jeff,
tell you what.
okay?
This is going to become part of the Break On Through
Oh, I love
studio.
that.
So
Oh.
you're whenever we film, you know, I film from different angles. But I'm going to find an angle. You're going to see that it's going to
I
become
love
part
that.
of my studio.
No, thank you so much. Just a couple more things, and then I promise, man, they're gonna come shut us down. Now, Jeff, look here. This is my brand new. I'm so excited. This is my brand new wrestling card.
Wow.
Just got them in, man. Just a couple days ago. My guy, dang, I can't remember the name now. They won't be mad at me. But anyway, they can get them on my website or whatever. But this is my brand new card. It's actually part of a board game. You know, they've got a bunch of them out with a lot of the wrestlers. But that's my brand new one. So that's yours.
No,
okay, Jeff.
I'm
Two more
honored.
things, and we're gonna shut this down. This is good. Jeff, look here. This is Jim Crockett.
Right.
Okay. The set that came out. This is me and my partner Gary Roll as the Gladiators. Okay,
That's awesome.
That was, and you know what's so cool? This is so funny, Jeff. Crockett gave us $50. Ric Flair, Magnum, Dusty, because we didn't know anything about marketing. We signed $50. So we got paid $50. These cards. This one here is outrageous now. To have the whole set is like $5,000 right now. Of course, Wonderama, the company, it went, you know, it didn't last long. But this is me and Gary Roll.
Man, I have a few of those kind of cards. I don't have this one.
And you know what's
But I
funny,
have a
Jeff?
few of those old NWA
What's
cards.
funny about this is years ago, there was a guy that ordered an outfit like this, okay? And he claimed, I swear, this goofs will be under this category. He claimed to be me. He claimed to be the Gladiators, okay?
Okay.
And then he got another suit, okay? And he and had a guy dress up in it, and he claimed to be the Gladiators, okay? And swore up down by it. His own family swore up down he was the Gladiators. But what's so funny about it, Jeff? We never won a match. Okay? The Gladiators got beat like sometimes 8 times a day, you know? And so I'm thinking, how goofy are you? Okay? Claim to be Hogan or Flair or somebody like that. But you're claiming to be, bless his heart, he claimed to be the Gladiators who never won a match. So, but that's yours. All right, Jeff.
Thank you so
this
much.
is it. We got to close it out. Listen, everybody knows how much I love Bobby Eaton, you know, one of the best in the world, and of course we lost him not long ago, but I'm still in touch with his kids and stuff, but he was like the best ever. I mean, I know Brad Armstrong was a close second, but Bobby was doing stuff off the top before we even knew what it was called. I mean, it was just, he could lay an egg, Jeff, you could lay there, he could lay an egg on your nose, and he'd do it before the TV tapings, before people come in. You could lay an egg on your nose, just lay there, and he'd come off that top rope with that Alabama jam. And he would just crack that egg. Wouldn't touch you. That's how good he was. They used to turn me upside down. Stan Lane would turn me upside down. And I look out the corner of my eye, and here comes Bobby off that top rope on the back of my neck. That's professional. Okay? So anyway, but I used to travel with Bobby, and what was so funny, Jeff, is I brought you this, is I wouldn't let him throw nothing away because I loved him. I mean, he'd have an old Blockbuster card, and he'd just go to dump it. And when he wasn't looking, I'd go get it out of the trash, because it had his name on it. He's Bobby Eaton. You freaking kidding me? An old a Walmart card, and Bobby, you gonna keep that? But it would expire, but he'd just throw it away, and I'd always keep it. Well, this is so neat. I don't even know if American Airlines is even around anymore. But this was Bobby's. Jeff, I'm gonna give this to you. This was American Airlines. This was Bobby Eaton's frequent flyer card. All those years traveling for Crockett and all over the country. And what I love about it is it's got his name on it. And I got this from him. So this, I promise you, this is one of a kind. This thing, there'll never be another one of these. Like I said, they may be, but I don't even know if American Airlines is still around. But this is Bobby Eaton's frequent flyer, my card. And I want you to have that.
George, you're one of the few people in this world that can make me speechless.
Buddy.
Man, I just see one of the many reasons I love this guy.
Well, and I know, like all this stuff, Jeff, like even, the simple cards and stuff, and I'm going to close this up with why this is all important to be able to share it with you. When I worked for Dusty Rhodes, and this will be my last story, every Monday morning, Jeff, I would call him, and I would say thank you. Whether I wrestled one day or 7 days that week before, I would call Dusty Monday morning. I'd say, Dusty, I just want to thank you. Okay, George, I know you appreciate it. Every Monday, and I'm so proud to be able to say this, and it got so bad to where Dusty wouldn't even take my calls, Jeff. The secretary, Ann, she would say, George, we know you appreciate what Dusty does, okay? But he's in a meeting, okay? And so, but now that Dusty's gone, okay, this is what I'm getting at, folks. Now that Dusty's gone, I'm so thankful that I had that time with him, that I was able to thank him for everything. And I love him, man. He did so much for me and my family. But those little things like that, Jeff, that nobody told me to do, now, and I've always been appreciative of what people have done for me in wrestling. But to be able to say, I tell Dustin, his son, that all the time, I bugged your dad to death. I'd call him every Monday morning, and I would just tell him thank you. And later as Dusty got older, we got closer when he was working some independent shows, and he would bring that up. Man, you used to call me every Monday, and I always wanted to do that. So they can say anything they want about me. I wasn't that good of a wrestler or anything like that, but they can't nobody say that I did not appreciate what those guys, Boogie and all those guys had done for me. And that's why I'm still able to do what I do. And that's why I know this stuff will mean something to you. I know how much you love pro wrestling and even with Sonny and Cher's album and stuff like that. So anyway, but it's just been, I'm not done. Everybody says, George, is there anything? I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, what I do, and this is it, folks. We're gone after this. My preacher told me this one time. He said, George, somebody can visit the church, and I want to come and visit them. I want to come into their house. They won't let me. Preachers, everybody's weird. They think preachers are weird. He said, but let me tell them that I'm bringing a wrestler. He said, man, they got the front door open. There's a pie and a glass of milk on the kitchen table. He said, so I love that. He said, man, they won't even let me in the door, but let me tell them I'm bringing a pro wrestler with me. Man, they meet me on the front porch to meet that wrestler. So that's that's all I want to. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. My family, of course, GeorgeSouth.com. They can go to me and say, hey. And people always say, well, if I email you, I ask people, let me pray for you. They say, well, I would email you, but your people won't let you get it. I said, well, I ain't got no people. What the heck? You email me, it comes to me, okay? And I promise I'll answer you. I love to pray for people, man. I know what pro wrestling meant. To me, I'm sure tonight when I leave you and in the dark, the city lights of Charlotte, and I drive past Brer Bend Drive, it'll almost catch my breath, Jeff. It'll take my breath because that was my life, and I'm so thankful, and I don't take any of it for granted. It was funny because my kids just had a birthday, and I was out of town. And as I get older, I want to apologize for being a sorry dad. I missed so many birthdays. But my daughter Abigail, a little smart aleck, she said, Dad, we're used to it. She said, if you were here on my birthday, I'd be mad. Okay, so they've all grown up, and we it's just been a great ride. And I appreciate you having me. And I hope I ain't bored everybody to death. But it's just been a special time of life, man.
I don't mind telling you. We try to be honest on here. I'm a little choked up here. When you have someone of this caliber give you such wonderful things, man, it's just it's quite an honor and a privilege.
I know you'll love it, and I got more. Your poor wife Rebecca's gonna kill us. Okay, they're gonna have to be a phase 2. Over that. I bought an old radio case. It gutted it out. Glass is similar to here, and I put all my blackjack stuff in it. And it's beautiful. It's got a light. It's an old radio player thing. And so a buddy came over. He couldn't wait to see Blackjack's. I called it Blackjack's wing. He come in my house, brother. Eat popcorn, ready to see, and he sees this like TV case, okay, that I gutted, but it's beautiful. He said, "Man, is that it?" And I'm thinking, "Are you freaking kidding me? What do you mean, is that it?" Yeah. So my blackjack wing was just 4 wheels in a glass plastic case that had a record player in it. But man, it works. But that was my blackjack wing. So, but anyway, I'll get you over one day to see it. So
I would love to. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, the people here, I think everybody is with me. I think we've had a good time today.
Thank
you. George, I would, just before we sign off, I would like for you to plug your website.
Yes, sir.
And anything else you got going on.
Well, I tell you what, I got all kind of stuff going on. Got 3 books, if you can believe it. Most people think wrestlers can't even read or write, but I got 3 books, and then just go to simplygeorgesouth.com. Of course, I'm all over Facebook. There's like 42 Facebook pages is what my kids say. But, and folks, I tell you, I'm old school now. I will get back in touch with you, but I go to the library. Jeff, I don't have a freaking TV. I don't have a computer. Don't want one. Okay, I got a flip phone that I'm trying to downgrade from it. Okay, to a freaking tin can. Okay, Jeff. Yeah. I go with Verizon to pay my bill today, and the lady, I got unlimited everything. That's why I keep that flip phone. This lady, young girl, 18, right out of college, worked for Verizon, trying to sell me more data. You understand? I said, "Sweetheart, if I've got unlimited," another goof, okay?
Right.
"Sweetheart, if I've got unlimited data,
right.
what the heck you trying to sell me more data for?"
More than unlimited.
More than unlimited.
Like mega unlimited.
Yeah, is there something I'm missing?
Godzilla unlimited.
Oh, but I promise, I go to the library. Everybody laughs at me. I go to the library, a couple days a week, get on a computer, man. I'm all sophisticated. Get in there, them old ladies over here showing me how to work this thing. But, brother, I will email you back. Any prayer request, anything like that, man, Jeff. And just go to georgesouth.com, say, I saw you on the show, and you're nuts. But man, I'd love to hear from anybody, man.
Listen, y'all, I want you to do this. I want you to go to georgesouth.com tonight. Show George how much you appreciated having him on here tonight. Buy something from his website.
Thank you.
I'm sure you can, if you write him a nice email and you're not being a goof, he can sign it for you.
No goof.
And don't be a goof.
Yeah. Don't tell Brute Menard what you're going to do, okay?
It's goof proof.
Yeah, that's goof proof. That's right.
But man, I'm gonna tell you, George, I have enjoyed having you, man. I always enjoyed having you in my home.
Brother, I love it, man. What a good time.
And can we have you back sometime?
Oh, I'd love to, man. I would love to, buddy.
Well, you heard him.
Yeah,
we're gonna hold him to
back.
it.
Yeah, bring me right
George
back.
South will be back right here
sir.
On Break On Through. And man, I'm gonna tell you, you think he's told every story he can tell?
Oh man, we just got
he
warmed
hadn't
up.
even started.
No,
he hadn't even started.
That's called supper's waiting, and I had to cut it short, Jeff. Thank you, my buddy. Man, I love you. Thank you so much.
Everybody, thanks for coming tonight. And for all of you that have join us later on a replay, I'm sure you've enjoyed it just as much as everyone that was here live has. I'm sorry I couldn't stay focused on your questions if you had any. I was too busy listening to this. So
we'll do another one where I'll just take questions. That's what we'll do, Jeff.
Well, listen, thank you. As always, I appreciate y'all being here. And you know what we got to do? Sooner or later, we all got to break on through.
Man.